What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. If you enjoy the Scale News Update regularly, hit the like button. Let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, last week, Axial quietly kind of announced a new SCX3 version. And it's called the SCX3 Coyote. And I say quietly because they did it in a way that they don't typically, or I haven't necessarily seen them do it ever before. They put up a video on their own YouTube channel about it and made some social media posts. But that was about it. We didn't see any coverage from outside of the camp or anything like that. And that might be because it's not a huge release in general. Underneath of this new Coyote is an SCX3 with some modified shock towers, moved battery placement, and then the Proline Coyote body and the Proline Maxxis Trepidors put onto it. It's got the same axles, although it does have overdrive in the front. And that's the basis of it. It's kind of like performance focused, but really the biggest difference is, you can move the shocks a little bit and they put the battery in the front. Beyond that, it's pretty much a base camp. So it's a bit performance, but they have the SCX Pro platform that is more performance oriented, although was never a big seller. It never did very well. And, we've seen that with like kind of some blowout sales here and there. So they decided to put their eggs in this new version of an SCX3 rather than making an RTR version of the SCX Pro, which maybe was a little bit interesting in their own ways. Now, the price on this is where they were definitely focused. It's $399, fully RTR battery, the whole deal. The other small things that they did is they did put a clipless body system in it, which has got like some sort of like spring-loaded clip or of some sort in the rear of the body set, which is nice. It is labeled as the Coyote body, but it's not the same Coyote body as before. And the tires are different as well. While they are labeled Proline, they're the Maxxis Trepidor that you've seen before. I looked super closely at the photos, and if you look at the Proline version, right underneath the directional arrow is where it says made in the USA, and on the new ones, it doesn't have that, meaning that they retooled these overseas, and the same likely goes with the body, as it wouldn't have made much sense to make those parts here from Proline and then send them over there. They just had it all remade over there. So the tires that come on this are not going to be the same compound as the Proline version that you may already be used to. So expecting the same level of performance, probably not going to be exactly the case. But that's not really something that's ever stated clearly. So the only information or only opinion we have on it at this time has just been from the Axial video itself, though. So kind of interesting, the approach that they took with this one compared to just about any of their other releases to this point. It'd be really interesting to find out why they decided that was the approach that they wanted to take with this new release compared to other or just about any other release that they've done in a very, very long time. But beyond that, you can get the body in two different colors, the whole truck. You can get it two different color choices. One's a silver, one's a blue, obviously painted. The windows are painted over as well. So it's got stickers over the windows. There is no clear windows underneath. Being performance oriented might not be a huge gripe though for some people, as the scale look of it, maybe not like their number one focus for this type of a model. But again, the price going to be what is going to interest people the most, being a sub $400 truck. LCXU transmission, the same transmission that came in the base camp originally. It's not a 3-gear, but it's like kind of shaped with a 3-gear, kind of shaped like a 3-gear, but with some extra gears inside of there for reasons. But beyond that, an interesting take on that. A great price point for them. I'm sure that this could be one of their more popular SCX3s in some ways. So be interesting to see how that goes once people actually get it in their hands. These are currently listed as available for pre-order, and if you're interested in that, you'll find a link down in the description below, as well as links to the rest of this week's stories. Also new last week from the Horizon camp was 2 new Spektrum radios. One, the DXC Plus. This is a fairly affordable, it's a $200 radio system with a receiver. 12 channels this thing has. It comes with a 6-channel receiver. So the 6-channel receiver, to be able to get it with that radio at that cost, pretty decent, as the Spektrum receivers are fairly expensive. So you're getting a decent value for that. You can get this also without the receiver if you like, for around $170. Now, the nice thing about this is that it's dual protocol. Spektrum has multiple versions of their receiver protocols, basically like what radios work with what type of receiver. So this one you can bind to a stock SLT protocol, which is what you see in most of their RTR models, or you can pair it with the nicer Spektrum DSMR type receivers as well. That's all very nice. It's something to talk about. It's cool that they did that. The thing is that Spektrum used to do that with everything. It wasn't dual protocol, it was just one protocol. But you could have a nice Spektrum radio and you could get an RTR and it would just bind to it. And then as things went, they decided to go with these, less expensive radios and protocols, and they lost that functionality. Now it's finally back. So it's like a new feature, but it's really kind of just like, hey, kind of giving us back that situation that we used to have all the time. So I do like that that is back. It's nice to have that. It is cool to see that you can get a 12-channel radio from them for this price point. But again, you don't have a receiver that is capable of nearly that many channels. So you're going to have to, maybe take advantage of it through mixing or things along those lines. But you're going to have probably a hard time using 12 channels through just mixing in a reasonable way. And Spektrum doesn't allow you to use multiple receivers like some of the other radio brands. So, maybe they're getting there, but still not 100% there just quite yet. The radio itself, navigation, is going to be very familiar to like the DX5s and those things. It's got the scroll wheel on the back, which is pretty easy to navigate. The radio menus on those, super simple and fairly easy. The other one is the iXSR Plus. Now this is their flagship radio in an updated way. The Plus used on both this one and that DXC Plus. But with this, $699 for this radio still. So it's the same price as the previous version, but does have the dual protocol. It is still 12 channels. $699 is the price with a receiver. This is an Android based. Now, one other interesting thing is that other one, $199, comes with a 6-channel receiver. This one, $699, comes with a 5-channel receiver. Couldn't give you the 6-channel with the extra cost. It is Android based, so if you want to run some of like the Bluetooth apps for your GNSS or programming a Furatech type system, you could do that all on the radio. Some of the benefits of having that ecosystem on board, kind of nice. Beyond that, a lot of the iXSR, inside there is unchanged. It's just a little bit of an update to it. Same price as before. Next, Team Associated didn't give us an RC10 release for this week, but they are teasing something which I bet my hat that it'll be an RC10 of some sort. Probably, you know what? I'll double down and say I'll eat my hat if it's not gold and white. In the background of the black and white image, you can see an aluminum pan chassis, which again, I'm betting you it's going to be gold or orange or whatever color. It says it's gold. It looks pretty orange. We'll see exactly what it is. It's got some off-roady type tire marks across, or kind of off-roadish tire marks across the image, if that's any indication. Of course, I'm filming this on Monday. Oftentimes the associated releases come out on Tuesday when this video actually goes live. So there's a good chance that we'll know if I'm right or not shortly after this video goes up. But speaking of when these videos go up, if you want to see them early, you can check out the channel membership, which you get to see all of the videos a little bit early. Like the scale news, you get the night before. You also get extra videos like Afternoons Delight, which is an extension of this show and kind of something we just go back over the interesting topics and talk about some of the extra stuff that's going on in the background of the channel, as well as just some dedicated behind the scenes videos. Help support the channel a little bit extra. If you're interested in any more information on that, there'll be a link down there where you can find out everything about that. Thanks to everybody who helps support the channel. Thanks to everybody who watches any of the videos. And this Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, Matt and I have live stream takeover. I had to miss last week because of a vehicle accident that took out my internet service for a few days. It was rough. But I'll be back this week for sure. And I believe we have a guest lined up for it. So make sure you come hang out with us, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you work for an RC company like to see any of your products on the Scale News Update, shoot me an email to news@harleydesigns.com. Include a photo, a short description, and a link to where it can be found on your website or when it will be found on your website. Love to take a look at it and see if we can get it included here on the Scale News. FMS just posted that they're going to have 3 new versions of their SCX10 platform with the Camel trophy livery across. So they've had these in their smaller scale platform, and now we're going to see this available in the 1/10 scale. There has been some photos and things like that shared of these vehicles. It does appear that these are going to be Lexan bodies on top of the FCX10 chassis. We've covered the FCX10 previously, but the Camel trophy stuff does look cool. They're going to offer these 3 body options with it. FMS does have the page up on their site already for these 3 vehicles, but it's just got like a placeholder price of like $999 million or something like that. So if you want to go check out the details on that, you go check out that webpage. It doesn't say exactly when we're going to see the official release of these vehicles or when they're actually going to be available for sale. Next, Upgrade RC, AMain's house brand that they've released tires and things like that under, is now stepping into the 1/24 scale or the micro world with some new 1.0 dual stage foams, which the 1/24 scale scene a little bit different with that. You don't see as many foam offerings in that world, but along with these new dual stage foams, which are traditional closed cell inner and open cell outer design, they have also released a couple of new designs of tires. And each of these designs they're offering in multiple sizes. The micro Rock Claw AT, these 1.0 tires, these are being offered in 2 sizes, very similar sizes though. One is a 54 millimeter, which is being labeled as their class 0, and the second is a 57 millimeter. So just 3 millimeters higher or taller overall for those two tires. A AT all-terrain style tread, so it is tight to itself. It doesn't look like it's super aggressive by any means. The other tire is the Micro Razor Wire, and this one is a much more aggressive. It's got some elements that are very similar to the old, Rover vehicles. You can see how the siping and some of the lugs is. It looks very similar to those. It's, like also redone by J Concepts called the Rupture, but this has elements of that, although in a slightly blockier tread carcass, which does look good. These are also being made available in 2 different sizes. There's a 57 millimeter and a 64 millimeter. So getting up there into the upper sizes of the 1/24 scale, all available at AMain now, including the foam. So if you're looking for some more 1.0 tire options, which there are a lot, then maybe these new ones will be something that you like. Next, I saw this release from Raywood Hobby, being a 1/10 scale Suzuki Jimny SJ10. And last week, we just talked about WPL coming out with a 1/10 scale SJ10 as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Raywood Hobby, who I've never heard of, Raywood Hobby, I saw this cross-posted onto a news site, and I just thought that was pretty interesting. They put out this old school styled video with it, with a little action figure and everything. But the build style of this does look very much like something that you would see from WPL. So Raywood Hobby is a Japanese company, which wasn't super clear by the name of the company by any means. And on their page, this is listed as a pre-order or coming soon as well. So not something that is available yet either, very similar to WPL. So not sure if this is going to be the exact same product or not, but maybe we'll see once we get a little bit closer to release date. And next we have a new lowrider model from Redcat. This is 1987 Chevy Caprice Classic. One of the best bodies they've ever done. Hands down my favorite. I think this thing looks amazing. This is one of the full hopping chassis. They do have multiple versions. Some of them are just, made to do, 3-wheel and they, lift up and down. They don't have the full like hopping setup, but this one does. They're not inexpensive, just that style, the servos that they put in it doesn't make them cheap models. But Redcat pretty much owns that market. And if you want to have an 87 Caprice Classic, this is going to be one of very few options you're going to have. And again, I think this thing looks incredible. Definitely my favorite choice of body that they've done out of all of them so far. These are available in 2 colors, orange and gold. Both are awesome, but orange is the clear choice to go with. These aren't available for sale yet. There's a notify me button on their side, or you can back order them through maybe some of your other favorite retailers. I saw A-Main currently has them listed as a back order also. So if you're interested in those, which who wouldn't be, there's information with a link down in the description. Many of you who have been into RC for quite some time would probably be familiar with Yokomo. And Yokomo was recently acquired by a new company called the Mori Corporation. Now, companies can trade hands often. Sometimes it has a big effect. Sometimes it's basically an unnoticeable thing and it just, is a difference in paperwork. I had heard rumors about Yokomo being for sale and several companies in talks with them about purchasing them. But this new company, it seems to be more of just like another investment or bank type ownership rather than an umbrella company of other RC companies that you may know, purchasing them and trying to, integrate that into their line. So hopefully this just means, more stability, maybe more capital so they can do more development. I've got a couple of their drift cars. That's where I'm mostly familiar with them, but obviously Yokomo's got a long heritage going back to partnerships with several of other brands from the past. So those of you who have been into RC for quite some time or specifically into some of the other areas of RC probably have much more familiarity with them than I do. But who knows if that will have any effect or any noticeable ripple through their product line or their brand identity, anything like that. But interesting thing to note, just in case something does pop up in the future, we can call back to when it all changed. But that's going to do it for this week's news topics. For this week's question, I want to talk a little bit about market segments. Right now, Redcat owns that lowrider market. And that's rare for one company to kind of be the only one in an area. Axial did it for quite some time with the crawler scene, but obviously that changed over time. Can you think of any markets where you would like to see more companies get into it? Like competition style crawling. There's maybe only 1 or 2 companies that have a couple of options available, but other than that, it's pretty dormant. Any other areas where you think you'd like to see more companies dive into? Drop your comments down below. My favorite part of the Scale News, reading through all of the comments. But that's going to do it for this week. If you enjoyed the Scale News, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, hit the notification bell, consider the channel membership. But as always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.